It's time to do a little math. Today in our school away from school, I'm shouting out to Nadine in the 5th grade, who's struggling a little bit with understanding volume. We think about volume in our everyday lives all the time. How much water does your bathtub hold? Now, if you ask somebody, they can't tell you because they never calculate it. But every object that is three-dimensional has the ability to hold a quantity of something within it. And what it can hold is its volume. Now, they start out by teaching you using the cubic unit. And you know, that's one way to understand something. A cubic unit is a cube. And we know a cube, by definition, a cube is an equal measurement on all dimensions. And the unit of measure of a unit cube is 1 by 1 by 1. 1 unit cube. Now, if you put two of these together, the volume of that would be 1, 1. So this here is going to equal 2. But this is 1 and this is 1. Now, the simple formula for calculating volume is length times width times height. Three-dimensional objects, 3 dimensions. And every box, bathtub, container of any kind has a length, a width, and a height. And by multiplying those together, you can determine how much will go into that. So now looking at two cubes together here, cubic units, it's 2 times 1 times 1. So 2 times 1 is 2 times 1 is 2. And that is 2 units cubed. You can either write it with the exponent 2, or you can say cubic units. When you're figuring volume, volume is always stated in cubic measure. Now, they teach you to understand this by using these cubic units, and if you stack them up in different quantities, you can determine the volume of something just by counting up all the cubic units that are in that container. And so here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so we know the length is 4, and we got 1, 2, the width is 2, and the height is 2. So in order to find out how many cubic units are within that box, you'd multiply the length times the height, or width, and then times the height. So it's 4 times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, and that is cubic units. Units cubed. See how easy it is? Now, that's using a standard measurement of a cubic unit. A cube, you know, kind of like those blocks you used to play with when you were a little kid. and you stack the blocks up, it's the same thing. We're just stacking a bunch of blocks up here. Now, if you take it into the real world, which is the whole point of learning this, I mean, someday you could be asked to tell somebody what the volume is of something. So let's just say, here we've got Nadine's bathtub. And that clanking you're hearing in the background is, for some reason, the boiler is kicked on, and that's actually pretty nice because it gets awfully cold in this building. So let's look at this bathtub. The bathtub measures 5 feet from here to here, and it measures 2 feet from there to there, and the depth of this, or the height, is, let's say it's 1.5, 1.5 feet. Same rule applies, length times width times height. Our length is 5 feet, our width is 2 feet, and our height is 1.5. So 5 times 2 is 10, and then 10 times 1.5. Now, if you understand the rules of base 10, you can just move the decimal point, but we'll go ahead and do the multiplication. 0, 5, 0, 1, 150, and we've got 1 decimal place. So how much water we can put into this bathtub is 15 cubic feet. Or you can write it 15 feet cubed. Now, I know you're smart enough to figure this out. Let's look at some of the problems in your book. Now, I'm looking in unit number 11, and your basic understanding is 11.6, and there you see a bunch of pictures of cubes. There's one cube that's 8 feet by 5 feet by 2 feet. 8 times 5 is 40, times 2 is 80. That means there's 80 cubes in that particular box. 11.6 homework. Another time that you may, in the real world, need to understand about volume is if you look on page 676, you got a box of crayons. Here's our box of crayons. And that box of crayons has a length of 3 inches, a width of 4 inches, and a height. So it's 3 inches this way, and it's 1 inch this way, and it's 4 inches this way. Okay, so there's a box of crayons. What's the volume of that box? Length times width times height. 3 times 1 times 4. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. And this is in the unit of measure inches. So 12 inches cubed. The exponent for cubed is a 3. When you did area, the exponent that defines area is square. That's a 2. But when you're talking about cubic dimensions, the exponent would be a 3. So we know that each box of crayons will take up 12 cubic inches, the volume of it. And the problem that they have there, using the crayon box, estimate the volume of the box that has to carry however many boxes that are defined here. And it's showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. There's 20 of them. So you've got altogether 20 of these boxes of crayons, and you need to ship them to somebody. And you need to know how big of a box you need to have to put 20 boxes of those crayons inside of. So now you can do some figuring. You've got 12 cubic inches for each box. You've got 20 boxes. So you're going to take your 12 and you're going to multiply it times 20. And that's going to be 240. That's 240 cubic inches again. 240 cubic inches. Now all you got to do is come up with a box that's capable of doing that. Now you know that the crayons are 3 inches by 1 inch by 4 inches. So you want a box that you can try to get as many of those boxes of crayons into. So you want it to be at least 6 inches this way, and if it's laying down flat, you want it to be at least 8 inches this way, because there's 1, 2 boxes here, and here's the ends of those 2 boxes. And because they're 1 inch thick, you're going to have rows of 2. That means you've got to be able to get 10 of them stacked on top of each other. So 10 times 2 inches is 20 inches. So you know that side's got to be at least 20 inches. And because each one of these bottoms is 3 inches, in order to get 2 of these, that's got to be 6 inches. And because the side height of them is 4 inches, you know that has got to be 8 inches. So in order to figure out how big a box you're going to need, you multiply the length times the width times the height, which would be 8 times 6 times 20. So let's do the math. 8 times 6 times 20. So 6 times 8 is 48 times 20. So 48 times 20 equals 960. Now remember, it's inches. So it's inches cubed. So you need a box that's at least 8 inches by 6 inches by 20 inches in dimension. Now that probably got your brains all scrambled up. without having 20 boxes of crayons here that I could stack up on top of each other to show you what they would look like. It's hard to give you a visual, but let's scale it down a little bit. If we have one box of crayons, two boxes of crayons, let's make them three-dimensional. And we're going to go 2 in this direction. So now we've got 1 box, 2 boxes, 3 boxes, 4 boxes. And this is 4 inches. This is 4 inches. This is 1 inch, and this is 1 inch. Oh, I'm sorry. This is 3 inches and 3 inches, and this is 1 inch. There are 4 boxes of crayons sitting there. Each box is 4 inches by 3 inches by 1 inch. So here's 1 box, here's 2 boxes, and then because they're all the same height, there's only 1 height. So the total length is 8 inches. The total width is 6 inches, and the total height is 1 inch. So in order to put this inside a box and ship it to a friend, it'd be 8 times 6 is 48 times 1, so it'd be 48 cubic inches. That would be the volume of the box you would need. And the measurement of that box has to be at least 8 inches by 6 inches, and it has to be at least 1 inch high to fit those 4 boxes inside of it. The simple truth of the matter is, calculating volume is really pretty simple. It's literally length times width times height, and all you've got to pay attention to are the units of measure. What are they? Are they cubic units like we started with, 1 by 1 by 1? Or is it some other? On page 691, let's just pick problem number 4. Problem number 4 is a rectangular box. Looks like this. And it's telling us that this box is 12 feet in this direction. It's 3 feet here. And it is 5 feet high. So we've got length, we've got width, we've got height. So 12 times 3 times 5. 12 times 3 is 36 times 5. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 3 is 15. So that equals 180. And remember, its unit of measure is feet, and that's cubed. So 180 cubic feet. You see how easy that was? Let's go to the next page and see if there isn't a tougher. Or let's do a word problem, because word problems just make everybody's brains go goofy. Number 5, a construction company is digging a hole for a swimming pool. The hole will be 12 yards long. Going to dig a hole. Here's the ground, and they're going to dig a hole in that ground, and in that ground it's going to be 12 yards long, 7 yards wide, and it's going to be 3 yards deep. So, there's the hole we're going to dig in the ground. Hole. 12 by 7 by 3. So we got 12 times 7 times 3. 12 times 7 is 84. Times 3 equals 252. And remember, that's yards now. That's our unit of measure, cubed. When you go to put in landscaping in your yard, when you grow up and you want to landscape, and you call up the company that provides the dirt, you got to be able to tell them how many cubic yards of dirt you want, because that's how they measure it, in cubic yards. And a cubic yard, by the way, remember, cube means all sides are the same dimension. And each side of a yard is 3 feet. Right? All sides are equal. 3 times 3 is 9 times 3, 27 cubic feet. And a cubic foot is 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. And you'll get 27 of those to spread out in your yard. Same thing if you want to buy mulch. So you just never know when you're going to need to use volume. If you have a gravel driveway and you want to know how much gravel you need to buy, if your driveway is 60 feet long and it's 8 feet wide, and you want 6 inches of gravel, you want it to be 6 inches deep, well, there you go. But put that thinking cap on. Feet, inches. Apples, oranges. Six inches is 0.5 feet. It's a half a foot. 6 inches is half a 12. It's a half a foot. So change your inches to feet, or change all your feet to inches. In this case, it's a lot easier to change your inches to feet, because 60 feet, it'd be 12 times 60. That's 7,200, or 720. Then your number is getting real big. So now we can go 60 times 8. 60 times 8 is 480, times 0.5 is 240, cubic feet. And then that can be transposed into how many tons or pounds of gravel. So you use this stuff all the time. You just don't think about it because you're in the 5th grade. You know, who cares? You don't buy the mulch, you don't buy the dirt. When was the last time you thought about how much water is in your bathtub? But you need to know this stuff. You will use it. So, Nadine, I hope that helped you out, and all the other 5th graders and any other kids that are looking at this video, to help you understand volume a little better. Length times width times height. Units of measure are always in cubic units. We'll catch you later. Have a good day. Stay safe. Stay out of trouble. Be kind to each other.